Welcome to Happy News Network, the Minisode.
We're here to brighten your week while you take a break from doom scrolling.
I'm Shayna.
And I'm Kristin. And we are joined by fellow podcasters, hosts, and creators of Twice as Less Not Perfect, a messy marriage podcast. Welcome, Emily and Nate.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for taking the time to be here.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have to start with the name of your podcast. You go over it in your first episode, but can you tell us how you came up with the name Twice as Less Not Perfect?
Yes, as best I can. So when we were talking about the idea of doing a podcast, we knew we wanted it to be about marriage and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the main goal for us was to sort of remove the stigma of the pressure of it being the perfect, it has to be perfect or it's no good. And so what better way to demonstrate it being messy than having a really messy, bad equation as our name. But I was trying to describe it to a roommate and I was like, everybody thinks that it has to be this perfect thing. And you see this everywhere on social media and stuff, but when in fact it's actually twice is, and I was like, I couldn't figure out in typical Emily fashion, like how to string words together better than a toddler. And so what came out was Twice as Less Not Perfect.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of stuck.
You were like, I've got baggage, you've got baggage, and now we have twice the baggage. And so we're like, twice as less not perfect as we thought we would be. And our
And
roommate was like, stop right there. What did you just say? Like, back it up. Rewind.
Yeah.
Like, twice as less not perfect. She was like, that's it. And we were
That's the
like,
one.
okay, that's
Get
it.
the monograms. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like longest podcast name ever.
Yeah.
But it pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
Great.
It's amazing. I love that story.
Yeah. That's a really cool story.
Can you talk to us a little bit about why you think it's so important to normalize the discussion of conflict within relationships?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go.
Do you wanna
Okay.
start?
Yeah. I think, when we had the first few years of our marriage, I think we were really good at taking care of the really like big things that come up, right? Like life stuff, handling crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And so it lulled us into this sense of feeling like we're awesome at this. Like we're so good at marriage. Like we moved 17 times in like 1 year.
We got to figure it out.
Yeah, we got this locked down. Like our life was going well. All the things we were trying and planning to do together were happening. And then somehow we like turned around one day and was like, but actually, this feels terrible. Everything feels wrong, right? Everything on paper is right, but we feel wrong.
We weren't connecting the
Yeah.
way that we once did and the way certainly we hoped to.
Yeah. And so what I found really interesting is when you would go to talk to people about how we were having troubles, this picture perfect view of relationships people build, it was very much like people didn't want to let that guard down, and people were like, no, not us, like don't go there, we're fine, we never fight, we
could never talk to couple friends about anybody else who was in another relationship. We couldn't share or communicate about hard things that we were dealing with. It felt off limits.
Yeah, they'd make you feel broken because you'd be like, like when this happens, and they'd be like, that doesn't happen, and we'd be like, oh no. And then
I'm the worst.
And then your single friend, she'd be like, we're having this hard time, and your single friends are like, F that. You don't need that in your life.
Kick them to the
Kick
curb.
them to the curb. Get them out of here.
Them out of your life.
And we were like, whoa. Like, no, like I like this person very much. We've invested a lot of time together. And so we just felt more and more and more alone, And so the idea that if we can just be a space of vulnerability and say, this happens, it sucks, but the best and greatest successes and joys and triumphs you're going to have in a relationship are when you face those things and fight your way through them together. And that it's a choice every day. And once you accept that you have a choice every day, then it makes it worth it. Like the juice is worth the squeeze at that point, right?
It's so much more empowering and liberating at the same time to know that you have the choice every day. that you can make, and you do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
day
and that
up.
speaks to your strengths as a pair, that you're willing to keep having those discussions and keep chiseling away, even though not everyone's willing to open up their doors to you to have those conversations or give you the types of advice that are constructive to a
Mhm.
healthy and long-lasting marriage.
Yeah.
It's a testament to your strength.
Well, we got some help from a therapist.
Yeah.
too.
Therapist was great.
That helps.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. And
Yeah.
that's a big part, is wanting to normalize that. Like,
Yeah.
if you're in this like this doom loop of terror and horror
Yeah.
and frustration, you need somebody to be like that neutral third party who has both of your best interests at heart to
Yeah.
like help you
Yeah.
stop that cycle. And
Well,
it was
yeah.
helpful.
We spoke with a therapist a few weeks ago on an episode interview, and one thing that was really interesting, she sort of talked about the idea of not trying to just pretend that the issue isn't there if you're trying to support a person having an issue, but validating that they are having feelings and that those feelings exist in the world.
Mhm.
And that is like that key first step. So I think going to therapy doesn't say that you're broken. It says you want someone to validate your feelings by listening to you.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
neutral third party is a great way to have those feelings be validated just by existing in space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That waking up to the fact that somehow you're both wrong and you're both right at the same
Yeah.
time,
And
mutually.
You're both coming at it with good intentions
Mhm.
and tons of love for each other. I think
Right.
that's easy to lose sight of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're both individuals. So you're both allowed to have your own perspectives and likes and dislikes and pet peeves. You're both individuals who come together for a marriage. So you don't have to be an amoeba.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we've definitely learned that over the years.
So,
Good thing
Since
to
you
know.
two are individuals, if you're having a super rough day, what is something you can do to cheer the both of you up?
Yeah. Well, I think going back to something you said, Shayna, too, is that we have to identify what the problem is first and really dig a little deeper. It's not just about, like we've said in previous episodes, it's not just about dirty dishes in the sink. There's something else going on there. And it's not just a quote unquote bad mood.
Right.
So kind of digging below the surface, finding out what the root of the problem is, and then either, working it out. We like to take really long walks together. And I just process things a little better when I'm in motion. My brain moves better when my body is moving too. So we tend to go and sort of work things out, whether one of us is having a bad day or we're both having a bad day.
Yeah.
But I think also another thing is to recognize that if part of the reason that one of us is having a bad time is because they need alone time, that's also something that, we've learned to try and create space for the other person.
And we find that, especially during this time of COVID, it's really important to switch up your environment. So if I've been in the house all day and I'm having a terrible day, I need to get out of my head. I need to get out of my devices, and I need to get out of the house. And if that just means going on like a really fiery walk where we walk 4 miles and like yell at each other a little bit while we work some stuff out, like that's great.
Our neighbors love us.
Our neighbors love it. But, I think especially during this time, I think that can't be understated, that your environment now more than ever is representative of the mood and the place and the feeling that you're sitting in. And so just to break it one way or another, you have to break that. And we use movement and walking and just discussing and a lot of wine.
Yeah.
To break some of those patterns. And like that lets us find, kind of scrape away the surface level, get a little bit to the heart of it. And then that frees us up to then actually be in a better mood and move forward.
Yeah, sometimes you just need whatever the thing is to take that edge off, so you're not trying to be polite or buttoned up. You can really just be, because you want to be unhinged, because that gets you to the root of why there's an issue. You don't want to be manicured. You want to sort of really be more into that raw state of why you're feeling a certain way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for your wine label, Twice as Winey, to come out.
twice as whiny.
I can't wait for it.
That's brilliant.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Yes. Yes, please. I'll take 2. Oh, so it's November and the holidays are coming up, which is like stressful for everybody. How do you manage both of your families and still make time to be a couple, still be Emily and Nate?
Oh my gosh.
It's a really
It's
good
actually really
question.
awesome because in 3 weeks, we actually have an episode just about this coming out.
Yeah,
This
very
very
soon.
question.
Yeah.
Because we have a very unique sort of family situation. We have 3 sets of parents to deal with.
I have 2.
Right. And then I have my family back in Arizona. And when we first got married, we were living long distance. Like we lived in New York. And so we didn't really see family a lot. And we got kind of used to doing some things on our own. And Emily was often doing holiday shows. So we would spend a lot of holidays, usually either in a different city or traveling back to whichever city we are going to be in. So we got used to that and we kind of really love it. Like we love traveling for vacations and spending Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving in other places.
Yeah. And I think early on when we got engaged, we suddenly felt all this pressure to like spend the holidays with any given family, one of 3. And it was our first year engaged. We were like, you know what? We're just going to stay in New York this year. And so I think we sort of set the precedent that every once in a while, the holidays were just for us.
Yeah.
And then we'd bounce around. Oh,
yeah.
And then we bounce around from, like I just did with a microphone, from one family to another, every other year. Yeah. But then we got to realizing that
in the beginning, we tried to make it equitable and be like, this year we'll do it here. And then next year we'll do it here. And then next year we'll do it here. And then immediately people were like, cool. So next year's my year. And we were like, oh, no. Like we had to like break those assumptions and be like, no, this year we're going to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Just throw them a curveball.
That's what we're doing
every once in a while. So that
you better ask. You better ask first.
Manage the expectations a little bit that we do what we want and what's best for us first.
Yeah.
But there's always room for family and we love our holiday times
and I think there's this like thing that we need to recognize when you're a newly married couple, that you're kind of the locus of control here more than we think we are. We think that we have to cater to our parents, but really we're the hub of this wheel at that point, right? They're the spokes, right? So we have to remember that we have more leverage than we think we do, in deciding kind of how and what is the best way to make things happen, because we always have that fallback of like, well, we're going to do Christmas here. And we just immediately like, well, I have to check with my spouse first.
Yeah.
And they can't force a yes out of you. They can't force a maybe out of you. It's just like, I have to do this first. End of conversation. We'll come back to this. And it takes some of that pressure off.
There was a gradual shift, I think, from when we were single to when we were together, and sort of, the parents used to be the first people we'd go to, or we'd answer to them first. And then I would like to say that it was a really quick shift, but it wasn't. I mean, it took a little bit of getting used to on all of our ends to just recognize that we are each other's primary family unit. And will be more so if we had kids, the animals, I guess they count, but because sometimes they come, but but that we, and everybody sort of learned to accept that and respect that, which is great.
Definitely.
That's great. Kristin, I know that your family and Aaron's family are relatively close in proximity, so it may take some pressure off of the ability of being far away from 2 sets of families. And I don't know, growing up with parents who hosted Thanksgiving basically every year, and it became an open house for both sides of my parents' families. I think I took for granted the fact that they made it look really easy, because we didn't always host every holiday, but they hosted one where all different sides of the family could come together. So then one year, if a different relative, like if my mom's sister hosted a holiday, my dad's parents were then invited. And so it really became this beautiful hub of family tree coming together. And I guess I never took it into account that that's not always the case, and it's not always easy. And, they made it look so easy. And, also one of the benefits of being Jewish is that you have 8 nights to celebrate Hanukkah. So if you have multiple places to go, it's a great way to break up the holiday season and sort of do multiple holidays in doses. You can do Hanukkah and New Year's, you can do Thanksgiving and Hanukkah. And I kind of took for granted growing up how easy it was to split holidays up and make everyone feel like there was an equitable situation. And as a single person who is typically based out of New York, but it's a little harder once you're an adult. There's expectation because you're no longer, especially if you're not the host, who's now hosting and who is that new hub of the wheel.
Right.
Yeah.
And it changes for us every year. I mean, we definitely have had holidays where, because for a long time, I was working up until Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to fly back to wherever we were going for Christmas that year. I'd have like 2 days to fit all of the holidays in one with family.
Yeah.
It was wild.
And a couple times, one family hosted it here in Colorado, and Nate's parents came out. So, and we just took them on the tour of all of my various family festivities. 3
Christmases in a day, Epic.
But that was pretty cool.
That's a lot, But that's also assuming your travel goes smoothly. Like there's so many logistics to holiday hopping.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
But that's a bold endeavor, but it sounds like you make it work, and you have different ways of making it work.
Yeah. And it's never dull. It's really
never
fun.
dull.
And we get a lot of presents.
We do get a lot of presents.
Right.
It's nice.
So before we wrap up, could you share a favorite happy holiday memory you have as a couple?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We have a lot with family. I'm just going to preface by saying we have a lot with family,
course.
but we're not going to talk about that right now.
We're
We're
not.
going to talk about one time we spent just together.
Yeah. So one of the best Christmases / New Year's we ever had was we actually decided to do a getaway, and we spent Christmas and New Year's in New Orleans. And it was incredible. Like, so to boil that down to one memory, we can't, but there were just specific things that were amazing. So one of the best things is we got to go and tour City Park. And you take the trolley up to City Park, and the whole thing is just lit up with these amazing lights.
Beautiful display of lights.
Incredible. And you're walking through past old graveyards. It's just awesome. Beautiful. Lovely.
So romantic and macabre, which is just right up our alley. We love New Orleans, and they just celebrate everything, 400 times what we do.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's fireworks off of a barge
in the Mississippi River.
In the river.
On New Year's. And we have found ourselves dancing to amazing and jazz music down on Frenchman Street with our family. Incredible. And then this place called Bacchanal, which we love, just great food, live music. It's outside. It's beautiful. But the coolest by far was our surprise parade. Okay. So I'm going to set this scene. I'm going to set this scene for you. So we're in New Orleans, our surprise parade. We had just finished a dinner at this restaurant down in the French Quarter. And Emily was in the restroom, and I walk out onto the street to wait for her. And I'm sitting there, and literally a wedding parade just goes by with a full band, and they're singing the song, hey, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, will you be my girl? And I mean, just beautiful, amazing.
People are waving their
twirling
hankies.
Napkins, the whole deal. And literally this whole
First trip
parade
to New Orleans
marches by while I'm standing on the street, just and it goes around the corner, and Emily comes out, and she's missed the whole parade. And I was like, Emily, you just missed a parade. And Emily goes, what? And she kicked off her heels and ran down the block and chased the parade. And I was like, I guess we're I guess we're
I
going.
remember
And
chasing
we
the
just
parade.
and we just joined into the parade, and we're in this parade, and people are just joining and dancing and like all through the quarter, for a
We
good
didn't know
15,
this
20
happened
minutes.
all the time. in New
Happens all the
Orleans.
time. But literally, it was like the most insane thing. It felt like something out of a movie. This like parade comes by. So like somehow Emily missed the entire thing, and then we have to go chase it down the
Of course
block.
we did.
It was amazing.
It was great. And it was just
So
one of those
fun.
beautiful moments where just joy,
Yes.
just appears.
The most
and you
joy
just
I've ever
go
felt
with it.
in my life almost is just
That's
this
amazing.
wedding parade.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And just total, like those moments in New Orleans
Mhm.
are like dancing on Frenchman Street is just like uninhibited, just
Yeah.
pure joy. And you're just dancing and singing. And it's just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So,
New Orleans at
That's
Christmas. Highly
amazing.
recommend.
do it.
Like
Worth it.
literally writing it down to do next year.
Worth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Please.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Were there other parades that you saw during that trip that you're like, that wasn't as good as our personal
Not
parade, though?
that trip, but we were there for a following New Year's, and it was actually right after Carrie
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher had passed
Carrie
away.
Fisher had just passed away.
And there was
on the flight.
and there was a
when we
Carrie
were there.
Fisher Star Wars tribute parade by a group called Chewbacca's. Amazing.
We have friends in that. We met them
Yeah,
later. We
and-
joined that parade, and then later we found out that we know people who were in that parade.
Are in that
and
crew.
Who were in the crew. Yeah.
And they were all dressed up, and they had like the coils on the head, and people were dressed in Star Wars stuff. And it was like a weird blend of New Orleans, jazz,
Star Wars.
death, and Star Wars.
George Lucas himself.
Incredible. It was so amazing.
If
Really
there is
cool.
footage of this, I must see it.
I think
I
we
have
have some.
pictures.
I think
And
we
we
have
might
some.
I'm gonna have to
video, too.
We have a
look.
video.
I'm sure if I Google like Star Wars parade New Orleans,
Yeah.
things will come
Yeah,
up.
look
That
up
is
Chewbacca's.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Yes.
that's the cool thing about New Orleans is they don't need a reason. They don't need a
Yeah.
reason. They're like, is it a sad thing? Is it a happy thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing?
Or rather,
don't know.
everything's a reason.
Everything's
Is
a
it a
reason to have a
thing?
parade.
Yeah.
Is it a
Is it a
thing?
thing?
We can have a parade for it.
Yes.
Awesome.
I love that.
It's amazing.
Oh, that's
Like,
great.
Whatever it is, they like embrace it and do it. It's
Mhm.
great. It's great. Love it.
Oh my God. I love that. The planning that has to go into that. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
What's
Yeah.
cool, and I
Gosh,
didn't
Travis.
realize this, anybody can throw a parade in New Orleans. You have to go down to the parade office
Of the police department.
of the police department and be like, I would like to have a parade. And they're like, great. You put down your money, and they give you like 2 cops on motorcycles and
On either end
either end,
you
and
hire
you
a
can just
band.
go have a parade,
or whatever. Isn't that great?
I wanna
Anyone
do
can have one.
that.
right? I know.
Happy
It's
News Parade
amazing.
coming to
Happy
you
News
July 4th,
Parade, right?
2021.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
yes.
It'll
great.
just be like me pretending to twirl batons and Kristen telling me to stop.
Waving your napkin.
Yeah.
Me with a clipboard being like, here's
and
all the
what's
reasons that's
great-
dangerous.
And what's great, doesn't matter how terrible your parade is, people will join it and will make your parade
It's-
great.
That's where like flash mobbing came from. Wow.
Yeah,
Mm,
it's wild.
It's
great.
that group think
Amazing.
joy mentality.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. We need so much more of that.
So
which is why
much
I'm
more.
so glad
More-
you exist.
more
Socially-
parades.
Yes,
More
but 6 feet
parades,
apart in
but
mass.
socially distant parade.
Correct. When it's safe.
But like, we'll
Or-
just have like spray guns of like sanitizer.
Yeah.
Too
Yeah.
close.
Instead of napkins, there'll be Clorox wipes. Just, waving them around.
Can we just go to New Orleans right now and have a Lysol parade?
I saw parade.
Sponsored by
Yes. It's great.
And it'll just be Bette Midler singing before the parade passes by with like, instead of a bunch of dancing waiters, it'll just be a bunch of dancing Lysol bottles.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Done. We're just going to put that
It's
on the
what we
to-do list,
need.
Kristen. Great.
It's what
Oh,
we
wow, I'm
need.
getting warm. I'm very excited.
Excited.
Very excited. Oh my God. Emily and Nate of Twice as Less Not Perfect, a messy marriage podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us
Absolutely.
today.
Thank you so much for having us.
was really
it's a
fun.
pleasure.
So from all of us here at Happy News Network, I'm Shayna.
And I'm Kristen. Have a happy
Have
day.
a happy day.